Yeah.
But I want to go with some grit.
Yeah.
I want to go with a guy that I feel does not still get his recognition in the pantheon of great artists. And me and B.Cox are going to try to figure out how he somehow gets forgotten. I mean, he might not be top 5, but he goddamn well better be in that damn top 10 somewhere, because what he did, and people forget on his unfortunate ending, how huge of a star Earl DMX Simmons was. And B.Cox, my question to you is, I line this up for you. What do you think his legacy was, and what do you think it is, and what do you think it should be?
His legacy, I mean, it's crazy. It's been about 3 years now. His legacy is this, man. It's perseverance. It's a story of perseverance, right? You have to talk about where he came from, what he had to endure to make it to what he had, even if it was for a very brief period of time. His legacy is pain, right? It's pain. And it's really one of like maybe two, I would say between 2 to 5 rappers all time that can genuinely, accurately, and I would say genuinely, accurately, and almost make you physically feel their pain through their music, right? What it was they were going through. Wow. Another one's on the agenda later on today, and we'll get to them.
Yes, sir.
It was Glory. The fact that at his top, as you mentioned, and I said this when he died, I said, yo, if you were not around and alive, doesn't matter whether you were outside or on the front porch, right? Because that was my on the front porch stages. I wasn't quite outside yet. Okay. But I was on the front porch, right?
Yes, sir.
Being as though that I was in high school during those years. If you were not around in 1998, it's almost hard for me to explain to someone who wasn't around to tell you how big of a star he was. He was almost a bigger star than anybody else you think about during that time who was out, who's still around and doing music, even somewhat. Yes, bigger than Jay-Z.
Yep. Come on, B.Cox. Bigger than Jay-Z. Thank you.
Yeah. Bigger. The Glory. Survival of the Illest tour, one of the best tours that we had seen in hip-hop, not just in the 90s, but of all time. That really helped to rejuvenate Def Jam in that late 90s run. But then it's the downfall, right? The struggles that he had after that run that pretty much ends around 03, 04, that we saw him run into his issues, his problems, the drug addictions, the arrests, the mental health issues, the depression, all those things that we had seen with DMX as we saw through those last, I would say, decade and a half or so of his life. And then it was a comeback. It was sort of like we saw him have a downfall, and then we were also able to appreciate him in the later years once he started making more appearances on the Breakfast Club, other interviews, the verses he had with Snoop, all that things. We began to appreciate him again. And then when all that stuff happened, it was like he was gone. So what DMX's legacy is excellence, while not being necessarily super technical with his rhyme, but a supreme lyricist without a shadow of a doubt.
Come on now.
A top 5 performer in hip hop. I mean, on stage performer in hip hop of all time. Top 5. He's in your top 5. If he's not, then you got something wrong with you. Name 6 other performers better than him all time. You can't. It was the emotion, the relatability, the pain, the glory, the downfall of the comeback. It was all at the same time a great success story and a cautionary tale all at the same time is what it was, what DMX was. It really is something when you think to study about it, what he overcame to reach the heights that he did, and then eventually him losing it all and then being gone so soon when you felt like he had a lot more to give, at least to contribute to the culture and give us. So that's what his legacy is. It is. And the hits that he had during those times. We talk about one of few rappers that have released 2 albums within a calendar year, and both of them have been number 1. And the other one, Tupac, 1996, DMX, 1998. To release an album, then which came out, which was number 1 on Billboard. And for a guy who didn't have a lot of club hits, his biggest song was a club hit. You never would have think would have come from a guy like DMX, right?
Party up in here.
And then to do that and then to see the downfall was a little bit depressing because be able to experience that in that moment is kind of hard to describe, man. That energy from the performance, whether it was on stage and you were there to see it live, or you watched it on a television screen, or you watch it on YouTube. I mean, that clip that you see from Woodstock in '99 is still something that I can't even fathom being able to do that to a crowd that's there. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable. So that's what his legacy. It's all those things wrapped into one. It's a complicated legacy, too. It's a very complicated legacy as well.
You know, B.Cox well said as always. When I think about DMX, man, it's a amalgamation of a lot of emotions. You know, you're happy, you're sad because you feel cheated because he was such a wise guy. Like once he started doing these interviews, you heard DMX's wisdom. He like, damn, he's really an insightful dude. You know, sometimes that scruff, you wouldn't think that type of insight was there, but then you felt that he had a higher calling. He was the one artist, and I always loved and appreciate him for this. He wasn't scared to pray and always acknowledge God and let his spirituality be known and say, hey, I'm fighting demons just like y'all, but I'm going to always give it up to God no matter what. I will always love and appreciate DMX for that.
And those prayers, man, the prayers is what resonated with the hood dudes who knew God but didn't openly say it, but knew that there was somebody out there that knew it and wanted to, that if I was going to pray to God, this is how I pray to him, right?
Come on.
And the last line of the first poem he did on his Dark and Hell is Hot is lines that I think speak as a pretty much what the motto of his life is going to be. So if it takes for me to suffer, for my brothers to see the light,
Lord,
give me pain till I die. But please, Lord, treat him right.
Man, on that note right there, we're gonna have to leave DMX alone, man. That'll get me emotional.